Hey guys, and welcome to the long-awaited and long-overdue next episode of Most Hilarious Phonies, or non-words, that have remained on the board in tournament Scrabble games. Now, for today's video, we are going to be going over the top 10 most inappropriate-sounding hilarious phonies that have remained on the board. So without further ado, let's go ahead and prepare to laugh and jump right in. The 10th most inappropriate-sounding phony that's ever stayed on a tournament Scrabble board was played by none other than my good friend and 2023 North American Scrabble champion, Josh Sokol. Josh, it's worth mentioning, was also kind enough to help me gather some of my examples for this video. And in this position, Josh was trailing by about 90 points to Dean Hergot, another expert player. And with a rack of DGHIOST and no particularly inspiring valid plays available, Josh decided to phony with dog shit, scoring 96 points and retaking the lead. Dean would allow this to stay on the board and come back with a 123-point bingo of his own of quinine, and Dean would go on to win this game, but still, pretty hilarious effort by Josh there to claw his way back, even though it was unsuccessful. Moving on now to the 9th most inappropriate phony that's ever stayed on a tournament Scrabble board, we have a game played way back in 2002 by none other than longtime top player Joey Malik. In this position, Joey was up quite a lot. He was up over 130 points, but that lead was diminished significantly when his opponent D bingoed with Rescrew, hooking an S onto Founce for 85 points. Now, Rescrew is not an acceptable word, however, Joey did not challenge. Now, in the end, Joey would go on to win this game, but not without leaving this monstrosity on the board and earning himself a spot in this video. However, it gets even better, because 2 years later, at a different tournament held in 2004, Joey found himself across the board from longtime expert Emmanuel Chiquan. And as in the previous game, Joey was up a healthy amount. He's up almost 100 points here, and Emmanuel cuts into that lead by bingoing with Rescrews through the W on the triple word score for 86 points. And now you're thinking, well, surely that Joey's going to challenge this off the board, because after all, he's already learned the hard way that this is not valid. However, amazingly, Joey doesn't challenge, so he accepts Rescrew, and then 2 years later, he accepts Rescrews. And not only that, this time it cost him the game. When all was said and done, Emmanuel would actually go on to win this game, 367 to 341. So Joey, this time losing a game by accepting Rescrews. Come on, man. We're now going to move over to the 8th most inappropriate phony to ever stay on a Scrabble board. And this time we once again have Josh Sokol, this time facing off against 2022 North American Scrabble champion Michael Fagan. Josh is in a very bad position here, down 76 points, holding 2 U's and 2 T's. But he doesn't let that stand in his way, bingoing with the absurd and rather inappropriate sounding phony of Nutsuit for 80 points under the E of Isolate, taking a 4-point lead. This also sets a trap for Michael. Josh is hoping that Michael is going to put his S on Nutsuit, making Nutsuits, and make a play like Hobbs for 63 points, which would actually score 0 points, because Josh would then challenge this off the board. However, Michael does not fall for the trap. While he does allow Nutsuit to stay on the board, he does not pluralize it, instead playing Hin for 21 points, and Michael would go on to hold on and win this in the endgame, but again, not without allowing this play of Nutsuit to stay on the board and earning his spot in this video. For our 7th spot in this list of most inappropriate phonies to stay on Scrabble boards, we are going to feature longtime top expert Jesse Day. In this position, down 50 points with a weak rack and seemingly no better options, Jesse settles on the 36-point Slute, S-L-U-Y-T. And amazingly, his opponent Jerry does not challenge. Note that Jesse had already gotten away with another phony, the Collins-only Inorate, on the previous turn, but that certainly doesn't even come close to being as funny as this play of Slute, which Jesse points out in his commentary is a word in no dictionary except maybe the Dutch one. Now, I'm by no means a native Dutch speaker or a Dutch speaker at all, but I googled this and I can find no evidence of Slute being in the Dutch dictionary. Perhaps Jesse was getting a little bit confused with flute, F-L-U-Y-T, which is indeed a valid word and does come from the Dutch. It is a kind of boat. But in any case, Jesse gets away with this rather inappropriate sounding phony, and in case you're wondering, he would go on to win this game. For the 6th most inappropriate phony to ever stay on a Scrabble board, we are going to go north to a tournament held in Calgary, Alberta. Expert player Matthew Larocque found himself down over 100 points with a rack of AEILSTT. Now, Matthew has no valid bingos here, and his best valid plays score about 12 points. Being down over 100, Matthew was not interested in scoring 12 points, so he invented a bingo, and quite a notable one it was. Testicle through the sea of Nuric, hooking an S to make phooies. Now, there are so many amazing things about this play. Number one, and most obviously, this is a misspelling of testicle, which is properly spelled T-E-S-T-I-C-L-E. But not only that, Matthew has formed a second phony, because phooey is an interjection, it does not take an S. And even funnier than that, Nuric, which was already on the board, is also not a word. And Matthew has played through the sea in that word, so he has formed 2 new phonies while playing through a tile in a third phony. He plays a phony, making a phony hook through a phony. Just absolutely unbelievably hilarious stuff here from Matthew for our 6th most inappropriate phony to ever stay on a Scrabble board. Unfortunately, Matthew did not win this game, but he certainly provided us some good entertainment, and this is not going to be the last we see of Matthew in today's video. We are going to stay in Canada as we officially enter the second half of this video with the 5th most inappropriate sounding phony to remain on a competitive Scrabble board. And we are going to be featuring none other than Josh Sokol for the 3rd and final time in this video. His opponent Ella has opened with flown for 30 points, and Josh finds himself with a horrible rack to start off the game, AGTTTUW. And Josh comes up here with the play of Fatgut for 20 points to offload a bunch of this junk. And amazingly, it stays on the board despite the fact that it is most certainly not a valid word. Despite getting away with this hilarious and somewhat inappropriate sounding phony, Josh would go on to narrowly lose this game, but not before earning himself 3 spots in the top 10 of this list. For our 4th most inappropriate sounding phony that stayed on a competitive Scrabble board, we are going to look to a game played between 2015 North American Scrabble champion Matthew Tunnicliffe and longtime top expert Matt Canick. Now, Matthew is in a losing position here because he's down 4 points and he's got a very clunky rack, C, C, E, F, G, and U. He knows that Matt has just a K and an O left and is easily going to be playing out for a decent number of points on his next turn. And Matthew cannot score enough points while offloading enough tiles from his rack to win this game. But he wants to finish this game with a highlight even if he knows he's going to lose. And to that end, he phonies with Fuckle for 18 points to the L in viral. Now, the beauty of this play is that Matt can actually not challenge if he's the least bit unsure whether this is a word. Because if Matt challenges, then he's going to lose his turn, and Matthew, with just a G and an N left, is easily going to go out on his next turn with something like Gin through the I and Ivied, winning the game on the spot. So, if Matt has even the slightest shade of doubt whether Fuckle is a valid word, he has to let it go. And that's exactly what he does, because now he goes out with core for 22, securing the win easily, winning the game 395 to 381, but not without letting this absurdity of Fuckle remain on the board. We have now reached the top 3 most inappropriate sounding phonies to remain on the board at a Scrabble tournament. The bronze medalist was played by longtime top expert Sexor del Solar against the late longtime expert Sal Piro. Now, Sexor was in a lost position here. He's down by 70 points and he has nowhere to play any of his available bingos. But he decides to make things interesting by extending the word sexto on the board to sextorse for 51 points. Now, the interesting thing about this play, besides its varied R-rated interpretations, which I will leave to you guys' imagination, is that just like the previous example we looked at, Sal cannot challenge this word unless he's absolutely certain that it's invalid, because this scores 51 points, which will bring Sexor to within just 19 points of Sal's score. If, hypothetically, Sal were to challenge this and be unsuccessful, then he would lose his turn and Sexor would simply play duos in the top left corner, overtaking Sal and winning the game easily. So again, unless Sal is absolutely certain that this is not a valid word, he cannot challenge. And he realizes that and lets it stay on the board. He responds with Hugh for 12 points, Sexor goes out with ouds for 15, and Sal barely hangs on to win by 8, 428 to 420. Our silver medal goes to Matthew Larocque, who featured earlier in this video for his misspelling of testicle. In this game, he's facing off against Siri Tilakaratni, another longtime tournament player from the Calgary area. And Matthew has no playable bingos here, but just like it didn't in the earlier game, he didn't let that stop him. He bingoed with Titmans for 69 points, making his blank an S. Now, the funny thing is that Titman without the S is actually a valid word, but its definition is not inappropriate. A Titman is the smallest of a litter of pigs. But as is the case with almost all nouns ending in man, the plural of Titman is not Titmans as Matthew played here, but it's Titmen. So Matthew somehow gets this by Siri, and he would actually go on to win this game by a huge margin of over 200 points. And now, guys, it is time to move on to our gold medalist, the most egregious, inappropriate-sounding phony to ever stay on the board at a Scrabble tournament. This word was played in a Division 4 game at the 2024 Scrabble Players' Championship by my fellow Kentuckian, Fred Moreland. Now, Fred was in a very bad position here, down over 130 points, and he decided to do something about that by playing buttocks, B-U-T-T-O-X, for 48 points on the bottom right triple word score. And amazingly, his opponent did not challenge this absurd, ridiculous, and fairly inappropriate sounding phony off the board. Now, unfortunately, this effort was in vain. Fred would still go on to lose this game by just about 100 points, but what a phony, what a play, and Fred Moreland takes home the gold medal in today's video. And just like that, guys, that is a wrap. We have officially counted down the top 10 most inappropriate sounding phonies to remain on the board in competitive Scrabble. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video and got some good, much needed laughs. Let me know in the comment section if you agree with my ranking of these 10 phonies. Would you have rated them differently? Did you have any standout favorites? What did you think in general? Thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate your support of my channel as always, and I will see you all soon for the next video. Bye-bye.